And I believe we did it. Mr. Shettel, welcome, baby.
Mr. Jonathan,
Yo, we're about to do a tier list.
we are about to do the most shameless content any Warhammer creator can ever do.
Yo, listen, these things rock, and ours is about to be freaking fire. What's up, my guys? How are y'all doing? Oh, we have a guy saying that we're late in the chat. I was like, hey, I don't think we're late in the chat. Pretty sure we've been on for 30 seconds, and this started exactly at 8 o'clock. But regardless, I still love you. All right, guys, so we are here, and we are bringing you a definitive faction tier list. Now, if you guys don't know Mr. Shettel, he is the Great White Wizard, and he is incredible. And he's going to help us as we're negotiating some of the more obscure armies in the game, and he's also going to be talking about some of the really good ones. So we're super pleased, and we're very, very grateful for him being here. So we are going to be doing this faction tier list based off of potential. We'll be talking about what like some average results one might expect with some of the armies, but we are here off of potential. What army has the greatest potential versus what armies have the lowest potential? And that is where we're really going to be focusing for our faction previews here. We're all here. Oh, we got Ian in the chat. We got Mr. Michael Glassick in the chat. We love both of those guys. They're glorious people. We're happy to have you all here with us. And even the ancient Irish Celt. My goodness. What a Chad. Guys, tonight I want to let you know that if you see that beautiful man, Cheto, right there, any super chats that come in for questions, we will answer. And all your super chats will go to feeding him while we are in Atlanta competing for the world championship title. This man, he needs a Vortex burger. He needs some Antico's pizza, and I need some beer in my belly. So that is what your super chats will be going to fund this evening, and we appreciate all of you. Mr. Shettel, anything to say before we get going?
No, I am very excited to hear what your opinions are and how we potentially differ in this. This is so exciting, like an exciting period for all factions.
Oh, all right. Yeah, can we just say this for the first place? Is I think basically every faction can go to a GT and do well now. I don't think there's any faction that straight up doesn't have any play. I think we can more or less agree on that, yeah?
Yeah, I think that if you are a specialist with your faction and you put in the effort,
yeah,
then you're good.
There's nothing
you can win over everyone else if they just pivot. Let's say they pivot to, spoiler alert, the big problem nowadays, guard. Right?
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Then they probably won't do as well as someone that has practiced. They know the matchup, like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, but I don't think there's anything in the game right now that you can't take 3-2. And with that, let's freaking get rock and rolling. Mass Bro Effect with the first. Buddy, the $2 super chat, you're a legend. We love you. And IG might be the best. It's possible you're right about that. But let's get into it. All right, so round number 1. Let's talk about the Adeptus Custodes. Now, one of the really cool things that I find about the Adeptus Custodes is that they suck, and it really hurts my soul. They don't actually suck. They're playable, and I do actually think they got better with the balance up with the points deductions or the points nerfs to everyone else. So sisters get knocked down, your T-Sons get knocked down really heavily. I think that really did help the Custodes out a lot. It gave them a lot of play into some of the armies that they just didn't have play into. And I think their stock certainly went up. I think the problem with Custodes is very, very simple. They are boring, and they don't have tools to handle some higher level play. They just don't have the tools to handle situations that are going to come up in higher level play. They don't have them.
Yeah, there is simply not enough units and activations to handle things like even Eldar, maybe even demons, right?
Yep.
Things that just have a lot of stuff will just be able to take one squad of Custodes at a time, and then you're done.
And I don't necessarily think it's actually like a points thing. I don't think it's that we necessarily need more units of Custodes. Nobody wants to see freaking 100 custodian guard on the table, and I don't think any custodian player wants that either. So what I think we just need rules, man. We just need rules. I heard Art of War say it, and honestly, there's a lot of things I don't agree with them on, even though they're amazing players and I like all of them. But I don't necessarily agree with all their takes. But one take I 100% agree on is throw the codex in the trash, give us the index back. Just do that in December, and let's freaking start playing Custodes again.
Yeah, I was gonna say give them their durability back, right? Because I'm not afraid of them at all. Index Custodes with the heroic change, terrifying.
Yeah, right. So with that, I am recommending that they start this tier list in C. I promise you, they can go 3-2 at a tournament. I promise you, you can probably get a 4-1 at a tournament. There's a bunch of different lists that you can build. You can build the double Caladius Wardens. You can build the Alaris Brick, which is my personal favorite. You can build just Infantry Carpet, which I freaking love as well. So like all of these are very viable.
And honestly, if you get the pairing luck
Yep.
you probably need, and you dodge certain players, you can probably still win a 5-man GT or like a 5-round GT.
It's definitely in the realm of possibility. So when I put these guys in C, what I want you to guys understand is that they're on the struggle bus, but they are by no means unplayable, which is really, really cool that we can say that about really any army, about an army in which is probably towards the bottom, because Warhammer is historically much more unbalanced than it is today, which is freaking sick. So let's move on to the next one. Are we agreed on Custodes, sir?
I think we agree on Custodes. There's a question about where in C it ends up relative to others and stuff, but we'll figure that along as we go.
Totally. Now let's go on to another one, which I guarantee a lot of people are going to talk about, and they're going to be like, "Oh, this army sucks." Because I always hear everyone say this army sucks. But luckily, we've got a guy that I'm conversing with right now who is telling people otherwise. So why don't you take this one? Talk to us about Admech, dude.
Okay, so Admech is one of those armies that almost nobody plays. Almost nobody know what they do, and so almost nobody know their potential, right? We've had a couple of games on this channel before the July data slate where they changed the doctrinas, and afterwards, and we've seen like, okay, they can do some stuff.
Yeah.
And you'd be hard pressed to stop the Admech player from scoring in the 90s.
They're just going to score points.
Depending on their build, of course, and depending on the missions. Some missions don't necessarily lend themselves to scoring that.
Sure.
The problem with the Admech Codex is that you have, and I would go out on a limb and say that you have one detachment that works.
Yeah.
And that is the Skitari Hunter cohort.
Sure.
The Cult Mechanicus stuff is overcosted. And if, for example, Breachers were cheaper, then you could, for example, consider like a Cult Mechanicus detachment. Because it is actually like a decent detachment. It's just that you get so many tools in the Skitari Hunter cohort that you can build a large variety of lists that don't necessarily look the same, but they should have 30 Ruststalkers and just do good, right? You can build a shooting heavy hunter cohort. You can build like 30 Ruststalkers and then just a bunch of Vanguards. Like you can build a horde. There are so many options here that can do well into every army in the game. And that is the key in the power ranking here, right?
Yeah.
If it's just the internal balance, it's like,
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm even bringing the Scatros, this guy on stilts.
Which I hate, by the way. Like, come on. Really?
He is a 50-point loan up now.
I know,
that can
that's
trigger
good.
battle shock that like ties up with the other Minds leadership, right? He's actually viable now.
I hate that it's actually pretty reasonable because it's the dumbest model they've ever made.
and that's just a test. And being that the detachment for Hunter Court is stealth, so everything is -1 hit.
So good.
Actually plays well into the largest predators in the game right now.
Yep.
So, what are your thoughts in this regard? You've played against it. You know how I've done results-wise. You know how others have done. Yeah. What do you think?
All right, so here's my thoughts. Mr. Michael, who I promise you it's not pronounced that, is giving a super chat. 11.99 PLN. I don't know what that is, but I appreciate you, sir. He wants to take Custodes full infantry, and they get to select their tables. I actually think full infantry carpet for Custodes, my guy, is really good in certain teams matchups. Moving on, back to Admech, though. Thank you for your super chat. So Admech, I legit think that if you have a dangerous Admech player who knows how to play Admech and is not afraid to do things that people are not, like, expecting, like just breacher spam, for example, I think AdMech can be terrifying. Because if you don't have reps against AdMech, I don't think you beat AdMech. Like straight up, if you're not practiced into playing AdMech, which no one is practiced into playing AdMech, I don't think you beat AdMech. Does it?
Sounds reasonable.
I mean, I legit. All right, this is gonna be kind of a tough placement, right? Because I legit want to put AdMech in A tier. I don't think it actually gets into A tier, just because it is. Just because we don't see people putting the results, right?
I mean, if we're talking potential as opposed to people putting results, right?
Yeah.
That then it is clearly top of A.
But the potential also has to be backed up by something, right? Now I'm excited to see you start putting those up for us, but
but AdMech has like a 55 to 60% win rate.
oh, did we really?
With Skitarii and Guard. Yeah.
Seriously? Oh well, shit. No,
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
comfortable putting it in A tier if that's the case.
It is.
That's pretty.
They have gone so many excellent ones recently.
And can we just do real quick? Can we just like share with people one of my favorite data sheets in the game, which I just don't freaking understand why people don't run them? Can we talk about infiltrators for a moment?
I mean, I run them.
Yeah, I know, but you're like the only person I see who runs them. I think I saw Siegler on a stream run them like a few weeks ago, but that's the only time I've ever seen anyone else run them, and it's like the great, amazing data sheet.
I think he ran like 25 of them in at DreamHack.
Was that what it was? Yeah, because that unit, man, they give you battle shock at the start of every fight phase at -1. They can infiltrate. They move really fast. They freaking are they the ones with the dev wounds, or is those the rust stalkers?
That's the rust stalkers.
Rust stalkers are the dev wounds. So these are the guys with the precision, right?
No, that's also the rust stalkers.
Oh, jeez, all right, there goes what I say. Ignore me. Anyway,
they are the ones with 3 attacks each in melee.
Yeah.
Strength 6, sustained 2. AP 0 baseline.
That's so good because you get them to AP 1, right?
You get them to AP 1 if they are within 6 of battle line.
Right, which you do.
Take some finagling with charging, right?
Oh my gosh, I think they rock. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about someone that I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the other big streamers. But I do think they're good. But I don't think they're as good as everyone is saying. Let's talk about the sisters. So my take on the sisters, here's the deal, guys. They got punched pretty darn hard. They still have a good build, and that is Triple Exorcist. And Triple Exorcists do have the potential to just be like, poof, you lose turn 1. Not saying that doesn't exist. It does exist. They also have the potential to be like, great, we did nothing turn 1, which means you win the game. Like, if Sisters are playing into, say, Orks right now, which, by the way, I don't think Orks are one of the best armies in the game, but if Sisters are playing to Orks right now and they just don't pop the trucks turn 1, I think Sisters just lose, and I don't think there's anything they can do about it. I think Sisters are far too reliant on how that Triple Exorcist build just rolls, and they hit on 4s with indirect, man. I'm not saying Sisters are useless. I'm not saying Sisters are bad, but when people were telling me that Sisters are like top S tier or whatever, which I do not see it. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Change my mind.
I strongly disagree because there are currently, and this is purely based on the Bringers of Flame detachment.
Of course, nothing else matters.
Fast gun, good.
Yeah.
And the Exorcist will be shooting indirect for the most, like turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then they shoot direct.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're hitting on 3s. You can miracle dice the damage. And if you have a variable d6 damage with a miracle dice, you can put it on a 6.
Mm-hmm.
You have tools with the castigators to reduce AP. So you're hitting on AP 4. You have so many flexible units that are fast, that can do things. You have various tricks and stuff. It's just too good and too flexible, with even better platforms and mechanisms if you factor in fate dice or miracle dice if you want to be the Sisters variety, that they're just so consistent.
Mm-hmm.
They are so flexible. They are fast. And I think that we are colored in Norway with regards to Sisters, because there's nobody putting in the reps and the results to truly bring them out. there's almost no actual Sisters player that play them consistently at the Norwegian tournament scene. If
Oh,
we
certainly.
if we had played more with, say, Dog from Sweden,
Mhm.
and people like that, right? If we had been in that environment, I am sure you would agree with me that Sisters is probably still like bottom of S tier.
Well, I mean, I don't like you and I are basically the same. We play the vast majority of games internationally. We don't really even play in inside. Our in-person
Yeah,
tournaments are in Norway, of course, but
but even then, right? Who do we actually know that play a lot of Sisters and that bring out the potential, right? Because Marshall is playing Custodes right now,
that's
for
true.
example,
Yep,
right?
yep.
That it is also an army that is underplayed,
Yep.
probably because of the aesthetics or something, right? We don't play Typhus, right?
No, I get you.
We don't have a lot of people that play it in our circles, so we don't necessarily see it. But I mean, just by the data sheets,
Mm-hmm.
just by everything, right? We had my buddy Ingvar come back to the game after having last played in the start of 8th edition.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to struggle to actually like secure like 15s against him.
Sure. Now, bear with me here.
Purely because Sisters is Sisters.
Now answer me this, all right? Yes, Sisters is good. I would never debate that. Do they have too many just this is a big weakness for me to be considered S tier? Because for me, when I look at it, I go, all right, dude, if I'm playing Orks into Sisters, I'm going to run my trucks. 6 trucks that Orks have right now, I'm going to run them to your face. If I'm playing my Blood Angels, I'm going to advance everything straight up. Staging everything. If I'm playing World Eaters, I'm going to 100% stage for turn 1. And if I go first, I think I just win. If I go second and you fail to pop my transports, I think I still win.
I mean, the way I see it is that they give you 2 turns where you can like control the board,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just break their castle, and you lose.
Well, how do they break the castle when you press? Okay, you know what? Sisters are really, really good. I think we have a disagreement here. Can we pop them in
I mean,
A tier for right now, and then and
top of A, bottom of S.
All right.
They are either the best A tier army or the bottom of S.
Let's pop them in A for right now, and then we can reevaluate later. Fair play. All right. Let's look at the Eldar. Now, I have not played into Eldar actually since the points drops, which is probably about time for them to get a little bit of a points drop. I do know Eldar were just basically fine. I've seen some of the new lists that are being floated around. None of them particularly scare me all that much. I see how they might actually be a decent tech tool in teams now, but for singles, I'm not really seeing how they're that much potential. But they're definitely more potential than say Custodes would be. Where are you at?
It is tricky with Eldar. There are some builds that seem interesting.
Totally.
I think that, for example, the so-called triple brick build we've seen had some play, and then Guard came back with a Fury.
It just said nope.
I think there is potentially some play in teams.
Okay.
With things like Fire Prisms and Wraith Lords.
Mm-hmm.
I think Fire Prisms and Wraith Lords are probably one of the ways to go. It has been a hot minute since I personally looked at Eldar as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, they score well.
Totally.
They're fast. They have tricks. They have shenanigans. They have dev wounds with anti-vehicle stuff like that. They have enough lances, and they also have fate dice.
Oh yeah.
But I think they need to undo some of the nerfs to them. I think it is far too heavily reliant on player skill, even more so than AdMech, to actually perform here. Because you have very few resources. You are hard hitting with the resources you have, and they are quick, but there are so few of them, and there are so many fast gun good armies in the game right now that I think they're like mid-ish B, for example, in my case.
So, and I would completely agree. I'm completely in agreement with you. They're like midish B. But if something's midish B, does that mean they need to undo nerfs, or isn't midish B like where we think armies need to be?
It heavily depends. I think that they need a little bit of a tune in like internal balance, so that some data sheets become viable again and give you some tools that you need. because you can build
Well, I think
specific
they have every
tools
tool in the game, right? There's not a single
yeah,
tool they
but
don't
but I
have.
but I think some of them are a bit too cost prohibitive to actually bring
Fair
to
play.
give you like a fighting chance for a 5-0 in a GT. Because when you're in B tier, you're in the if you are skilled enough, you can do it.
Yeah.
Like the reliance on matchup
Yeah.
goes significantly down.
Yep. Totally fair. Totally fair. I think B is like they kind of define what B tier is right now. Let's move on to the Black Templars. Holy crap! Someone who got punched in the face. Dude, are we gonna see Black Templars at all? I mean, I know the Austrian Highway still floats around, but do we even see Black Templars anymore?
Are we gonna see Righteous Crusaders? Is probably the answer.
That's probably
like
more of the
big thing
question,
here,
right? Are we gonna see Righteous Crusaders? I gotta imagine the answer is almost no, right? Because even 2 bricks of the Primaris Crusaders is like irrationally expensive at this point.
I don't know. We see a few people do it with Gladius, right?
Well, we see 1 brick with Gladius. We never see 2.
But even then, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they're floating around like a sub 50 on both now.
Yep.
I think people are realizing that the entire meta right now is vehicles and fast gun good.
Yeah.
I need to bring shit that kills vehicles now.
Yeah.
And all you have left then is the Crusader brick, and there are ways to manage that, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So,
I mean, a 20-man blob with a 5-up feel no pain is still really good, even with devout push, which gives you a little extra movement when you get shot, and you'll of course AOC. It's still not easy to chew through. Even Reapers don't like that, right? So it's like there's still probably play there, but they are certainly not A tier where they were. I think they definitely got knocked down a peg. I think the points was a little ridiculous. I think maybe going up by 20 points on those blobs would have been fine, not 40, and then also nerf everything else in addition. I'm looking either bottom of B, top of C. What do you think?
I would say top of B just because the highway works so well.
Yeah, but once again, that's Gladius, right? That's not Righteous.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to consider the fact that they can run Gladius as well.
Fair play, fair play.
If we're talking like max potential, right?
Fair play.
Righteous Crusader, we're not going to see at all. That's down like Custodes. But if you just run that one Crusader blob with Grimaldus, that's Black Templar.
Still really good. It's still really good. There's no doubt about it. All right, let's move on to everyone knows. Like if you're here, if you guys knew that what this was going to be, just type in you knew what it was going to be. We know the best army in the game. It's bullshit. It's nonsense. It's I can't believe Imperial Guard is this freaking good right now. Imperial Guard is always good, dude. Could you imagine like on release Imperial Guard in 10th edition how we just didn't realize how busted it was, and then like it just get better and then it gets nerfed, but like they didn't really nerf it. They have so many tools, and even the nerfs that looked like it was getting nerfed this time were huge buffs. Just like...
I'm just gonna put it out there. If we had a better Necron player at the start of 10th, I would have had Guard at that WTC, because I had a 80% win rate into GOM.
My goodness.
When we were testing and stuff. And that is significant.
If you guys don't know about the Aquilans are just the tip, right? The Aquilans are insane. Every single list is gonna take 30 Aquilans. These are 10-man squads that are gonna have a 3-inch deep strike. They get to shoot when they come in from either rapid ingress or from deep strike. They don't even care if you overwatch and kill your squad, because they're just gonna do it again and spend 2 CP, and they're gonna end up with 40 Aquilans instead of 30. They're going to go anywhere. You can't stop them. They can be equipped with stupid equipment. They have a 4-up armor save, which is ludicrous for a guardsman, which actually does matter when you think about, oh, well, I got to shoot my storm bolters in them. Nope, storm bolters don't work that well, bro. That's just the tip. Then they can also move block literally anything for free. That's just the tip of the iceberg, though, because why don't you tell us about the tank commander?
Okay, so the tank commander received a points increase. It is now 220, I believe.
Yep. What a nerf.
And it gained a very, very small but very, very significant change.
Yeah.
It got the squadron keyword.
The squadron keyword.
And what it does is that it allows you to receive orders from himself. and not just Lord Solar, so it frees up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It means that you can strat reserve and come in and give yourself an order. It means that Fields of Fire now works for you. So if you have like a single thing that can hit something, that tank commander that probably is ignoring cover because it's hit by a hellhound or it just trapped reserved in somewhere. It's AP4 on the main gun, on the last cannon, on the hunter killer. So it's like, okay,
All lethal hits, by
fine.
the way, against whatever it's trying to shoot.
Against vehicles,
Right,
mind you,
which is
vehicles
what's unique.
monster.
Yeah.
But I mean, and then it's like, okay, fine. It killed a thing when it came in. A lot of things do that. Then you have to spend half your army, maybe more, to get rid of it. And on a 2-up, it does it before it goes away. It counts as being on the full bracket. It still has the order. It's still hitting on 3s. It's still lethals. It
Yeah.
gets to pick its target.
It's a stupid model.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're going to take 3.
You're probably going to take 3.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think you need to take
No.
3. There are very good arguments for the cheapo Lehman Russ battle tank with everything, and yeah, they're just like guard good.
And
There is, if you are not putting in results with guard, you need to take a very hard look at yourselves, because I am tired of you other guard players not putting in the results and forcing me to play guard every single WTC. Free me from this faction so I can do other things, please.
Oh, and by the way, everyone who thinks Bullgrin are gone, no, you're just taking 15 instead of 18.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking everything from 15 to 6.
Yeah.
You can take none as well, but you'll swap them with Ogrin, who shoot surprisingly well.
All right, man. Guard is the best army in the game. I don't think there's any dispute. No one really is going to dispute that anywhere. Let's talk about a new codex, one I'm really passionate about, and I have very, very mixed opinions on. Let's talk about the Blood Angels, baby. All right, so my beef with the Blood Angels codex is this: one detachment is useless. It's just bad rules. It sucks, and that's going to be the Lost Brethren detachment, the one with the Death Company. It's just straight up not good.
What does it do for those that don't know?
If you're under starting strength, you get reroll wound rolls of 1. If you're under half strength, you get full wound rolls on Death Company models only. Now the strats are good. Problem is they're linked exclusively to your Death Company, which is a problem. Because Death Company are all just like your Death Company with jump packs are significantly overcosted. Your normal Death Company on foot, their equipment got a lot worse, meaning they're not really overcosted. They're probably appropriately costed for a 90-point unit, to be honest with you. But they have the OC 0, which means they can't do actions, they can't hold objectives for you, which means they're just there for killing, and they don't have the equipment to go kill. So it's like there's almost no point in them. The Death Company characters, which would be the captain, on foot and in jump pack, honestly have good rules. Like the one with jump pack gives you sustained hits 1 to the whole unit, which is pretty dang good when you think about it. But the problem with that is he's not a chaplain, which means you're still at OC 0, so you can't go take an objective off of someone. Like it just there's so many problems with just everything that is Death Company right now that detachment becomes a really big issue. The Death Company Dreadnought is a Dreadnought Brutalis with a reactive move instead of mortals on the charge that costs 20 points more. Remember, OC 0. So basically everything Death Company sucks. I think the Lamarte's brick with Death Company is still reasonably decent. Still very overcosted. Needs to come down maybe by like another 20 points. But that being said, you have two detachments in this codex that are actually really, really good. So you've got the Liberator Assault Group, which is not Sons of Sanguinius like people were saying. It is not the Index detachment, but there are some similarities, but it's very, very different. And then you also have the Angelic Host. Both of these detachments just have good freaking rules, and they can allow you to play really cool stuff with them. The problem with it, say, the Angelic Host, for example, is Sanguinary Guard are so overcosted, you can't play Angelic Host, because you effectively have to have 2 Sanguinary Guard units to run Angelic Host, effectively. And then you also have to have Inceptors, which are also wildly overcosted. So Angelic Host more or less can't be played with its rules. Which means you only have Liberator Assault Group, which is a good attachment, and there's actually a lot of really interesting builds out there. still too expensive. Doesn't mean that this codex is bad. It doesn't mean that the detachment is bad. It's actually still quite good, but I could not put it over B. Their stuff is just straight up too expensive. Sanguinary Guard at 45 points is just kind of wild. I know everyone's saying it's a flying custode. It's not. It's T4. It hits on 3s. It's not a flying custode. They are good, but their points cost is likely closer to the 37 to 40 points per model. Is really where they should be sitting, and your death company just need to come down a lot. So because of that, I've put this solidly in the B tier. I like it. I'm having fun. I've actually created some pretty interesting builds, and if you guys are not in the Discord, you should join the members Discord, which is what funds shows like this, by the way. So everyone should become a member, and you'll get to see some of the new latest builds, which are pretty dang exciting, which you're probably not seeing anywhere else. There are also some really cool like enhancements. Like they got the craziest captain in history of captains, the sustained hits 3 captain with finest hour. That guy goes in and gets 27 hits with a power fist by himself at strength 10, rerolling 1s, and it's all dev wounds on his go turn. It's psycho. It's super good. It's kind of a ludicrous model. You've got some cool combinations you can pull off with like a chaplains with fights first if you want to lead him with Blade Guard veterans, or if you want to lead him with like say even like aggressors or terminators. The problem being is that the things that you want him to put him on are also overcosted, right? So Blade Guard veterans really should be more at that 25 points per model limit, not the 30 points limit. So basically everything in there is cool, it's good, but it's all just wants to be run with the overcosted things, which are hard to run, which means it's not an A tier army. It's not a C tier army. Like legit, I could take this, and I'd be willing to bet there's basically no GT I couldn't make it 3-2 with, but it's just not quite. It's just not quite there. But that's honestly not a bad place for a codex to be.
Personally, I have a small disagreement.
Feed me.
I believe it is bottom of A, not top of B.
All right.
I genuinely believe it is bottom of A.
Yeah.
Simply because it is still too fast. It still hits reasonably hard. It has a lot of the same things. What you don't have is the 6-inch pilot consolidate, right? That's been like the major thing, I think, from Index Sons of Sanguinius to Liberator Assault Group.
Not only that, but that is a big one. One of the other really big ones is their strats now battle shock you if you want to use the full effects of them.
Yeah,
that's a huge problem.
I don't think that's necessarily a problem, because you often want to have that engagement away from the objectives, closer to their deployment zone, and I think you can do that.
You only have 11 units in the army, which means you have to have your units near the objective, so I would just pretty hardly disagree with you on that one.
But like, I just think that you are still hypermobile. You still hit reasonable, like fairly decently hard into most things. I think that they, like many things, probably struggle with guard, but I think if you have the correct map layouts, and you know how to use it, it can't be anything but top of B or bottom of A.
I'm gonna keep my disagreement here, but we could definitely leave it in top or in towards the front end of B. That doesn't bother me.
I mean, we both agree that it's probably top of B, right?
Maybe I'm not really there, to be honest with you. It has 0 play into Death Guard, 0 play into Nid, 0 play into Guard. Probably decent play into Sisters, assuming it doesn't get wiped in the first turn. And if it does get wiped in the first turn, it instantly loses.
I mean,
it just has really bad matchups into all the other goods, right? Which makes it hard for me to put them in A.
I think we need to explore that Tyranid Guard and Death Guard matchup more.
We can do that. But let's do that another time. Let's move on, dear sir. Let's talk about Chaos Demons. I'm pretty up on Chaos Demons, man. I think Chaos Demons are looking great.
Demons fine. They have a lot of tools. They have shenanigans. They have good data sheets. Shalaxi got cheaper. That's nice. They can kill shit. They can survive. They have they can unreasonably survive.
Yeah.
I'd say like mid B. Like you can do, like if you're good with demons, there's build variety that you can do to handle certain things. You struggle with what the rest of the field struggles with. There's nothing like unique about that. I'd say like mid B-ish.
So like the only thing I would add is the cool thing about demons, realistically, And I think it's the only army I could really say this about, except maybe Guard. I don't think they have a single weakness. I don't think there's an army they go across the field from and say, shit, I can't win this. And I think that is extremely powerful, and because of that, I would say bottom A. But I'm happy going top of B.
Top middle of B, because they struggle bus into like things that can just pick up greater demons, and there are in that greater field above them, there are a lot of armies that can potentially do that. Like I would say like upper mid-ish B, probably.
All right. Let's talk about Mr. Chaos Knights. Chaos Knights. I don't. Chaos Knights are just good data sheets. Technically, you can run a 14 Brigand list now, or not Brigand list, a 14 Baby Knight list, but you have to drop some Brigands to do it. I don't necessarily think their stock went up at all. I will argue, and actually this kind of goes in with the demons as well. I will argue, I think a Knight Rampager is actually really good now, and I actually think he's better in demons than he is in Chaos Knights. But I think they've got some interesting data sheets that work pretty well in the meta. I think Chaos Knights are just fine. Maybe they just need. I think they just need their codex, to be honest with you. I don't think they really need points. You don't need 15 baby knights on a battlefield. I think they just need a codex.
I think that the problem with Chaos Knights is Nurglings not being able to do actions.
But even still, right? They have more activations than my Blood Angels or my Custodes do.
Certainly, but
so it's like,
I mean, that's.
Why do you need Nurglings to do actions when you already have more units than other armies?
Because if you don't put your full army to bear, you will roll 2 Meltas from the Brigands. One will hit, the other one will maybe, right? That's the thing, right?
When you hit on twos, you'll always hit with one.
Yeah, it's always that one that misses or doesn't wound, right? So you'll get 1 Melta from each one. That's just 6 Melta guns. It is Melta 4. It is Strength 12, I believe, or 10 at least.
12,
right?
It's 12.
Yeah.
AP5.
So it's like that's okay. That is, but there are things with invulns there, right?
I think you're forgetting the
example,
66
right?
chain cannon attacks that are coming after them as well, and then the carnivores that are running through walls and tank shocking and murder facing everything they touch.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? They have to put all of that to bear on the targets of the opponent. That means that as soon as 2 of them are doing actions, like summoning objectives on ritual and cleansing and locusing and stuff like that, right? You start seeing issues. They are 8 OC each, but that is only 8 OC each. There are a lot of armies that can put those 8 OC on to either deny you or 10 to prevent you, right? A lot of 5-man 2 OC units are out there.
I don't think
I think it's.
Is that
I think it's.
Is this a real complaint though? Like that they struggle doing
no,
actions,
but
like because every other army in the game that has 14 or less units has to use units to do cleanse. I don't think that's a real weakness for Chaos Knights.
But I think that it compounds during the late game, because it's not 14 units, it's 14 models. So as soon as they start losing models, especially now that people are building to kill vehicles,
yeah, I would say that's probably a much more real problem for them.
Then that compounds, right? You can probably do it turn 1, but what about in turn 3 when you've lost 4 to 6 dogs? What happens then, right? So either you have been good enough to play KG, play the lines, shoot things, and you have enough left, or you've lost too much, and you haven't really gotten a primary lead. You haven't managed to deny. You haven't managed to do the stuff you should be able to do.
So that just kind of sounds to me like you're discussing every army in the game, though. To be honest with you, like when every army has lost a third of their army, they're hoping they've gotten position and they're in good place.
Yeah,
right?
but I think Chaos Knights just get that much exponentially weaker the more they start losing.
Okay.
I think when they are 13 dogs, they are oppressive. When they are less, it's like,
right.
Because the carnivore doesn't have that many attacks, right? Does the carnivore kill 10 Skitarii Vanguards when it charges.
No, but you would have
Does it kill 10 Beast Naga boys, right? Not really.
probably not, but you would also have like 66 chain cannon shots that are going for infantry as well. But I would
Sure, but
personally, what I would say is I think Chaos Knights are probably top of C right here. There's potential bottom B.
I would say like towards the bottom of B, probably.
Yeah, fair play. I think we can run that. I mean, I definitely think you're right. There is a drop off. I'm just not sure that's a complaint that other armies also don't share. Let's talk about the Imperial Agents. Now, here's the deal. I actually don't know anything about Imperial Agents. I've tried to like look into them. I just haven't.
Okay, so let me paint a
Yeah,
picture.
do it for
Maybe,
me.
because I don't know where I would put them either.
Right.
But imagine you have 60 Battle Sisters split into 12 5-man units, each with 2 OC each.
That's brutal.
6 of those are in 6 immolators. The other 6 are just doing random shit.
That's a lot of Melta.
You have 3 of them infiltrating. You potentially have the other 3 deep striking. You have 3 units of 10 dudes with 4 up invuls.
Substitutors, yep.
And they're fast, and that's probably only like 13 to 1400 points.
It's a lot, man. That's a lot of Meltas. I gotta be honest with you. That seems pretty intimidating to chew through.
Let's say you then bring a 5-man Grey Knight Terminator squad to maybe rapid ingress somewhere and just be annoying. Let's say you probably have like 2 navigators sitting on something.
Sure. Those are deep strike denials, right?
Yes, 12-inch deep strike denial. There's a strat. Let's say you bring that Grey Knight squad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the Subductors. You declare them as the target. You say, okay, my squad now has a 4-up invul, and when you're done, I'm gonna do a reactive move.
Yep, fair play.
In any direction, right? If you don't kill that squad in one activation, they're suddenly behind the wall again. And if it's the Terminators, they get a model back. If you didn't fully wipe them.
And they can regenerate onto an objective through the wall, so they end up scoring an objective that even though they weren't standing on it.
Yep.
Right.
Let's say you bring Canis.
Sure.
You still have Curia for the 18 loan up and the dev wounds.
You're definitely running the assassins because the assassins.
There's a lot of breadth there, right? To do stuff.
Sure.
But I don't know where to put that because they are reasonably easy to kill.
Yeah. Easy.
If you just have volume of shots,
you have 2 Reapers. It sounds like you're gonna table them in 2 turns, right?
Possibly, but I mean,
maybe not that easy, of course, but like.
I mean, you still have 6 immolators though, right? You're never gonna have cover on any of your stuff.
That's true.
That's a lot of bolter shots. Let's say you bring Canis as well, right?
Yeah.
What happens then?
So basically, what I think I'm hearing from you, and what is sounding like to me, is that there is potential in this codex. Now the reality is, I'm not sure who's going to realize that potential.
Is it better than Custodes? Probably.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I would instantly put it over Custodes, right? Because they have the ability to play the game, whereas Custodes just struggle fundamentally playing the game, right?
But is it better than Eldar?
I would put it probably below Eldar, but like I said, and to be fair, guys, I take it like I want to hear your comments on this one. I would take that. I'm uneducated on this one. But I don't see why they couldn't be considered bottom B, maybe top C.
I have heard rumors about them, right?
As we're talking about potential here, right?
Yeah, because I've heard rumors about people looking at them.
Yep.
And it's like, can you just like jail people in and they just don't have enough activations to score points, and you just do like just barely win into everything in the game?
There's certainly armies they could do that, right? Because they could do that. They could do that to Custodes, for example. They could do that to Baby Knights, Big Knights. They could do that to maybe not Flyboys. They could do that to a lot of your Gladius matchups. Pretty easy, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of armies that could do. I can see how that could cause problems. Let's do this. Let's just throw them in B. I want to hear y'all's thoughts or where you think the ages need to go, because I am admittedly uneducated on this one, but I trust Shetel, and he just painted a pretty interesting picture for me, and I think that's worth us exploring a little bit.
Because I mean, I played against a guy that doesn't necessarily have a lot of competitive experience, and it wasn't a great list either. But playing against it and seeing how it worked, it was like, shit, there's stuff here. Like, I potentially struggled scoring my primary. I still 20'd it.
Yep.
But it was like, this could have gone bad.
Yeah, you could see it, right? You could see where it could have happened.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about one where I think we're a little bit more familiar with. I think these guys got a huge glow up in the points update. I think CSM or players should be really happy. I think CSM got quite a few options. I think one of the biggest options that CSM players got is they got the encouragement to actually do things that isn't just triple ACDC, which, by the way, triple ACDC still works. If you guys don't know what triple ACDC is, that is a cursed cultist led by Dark Commune. They're the huge big blobs with all the attacks that once per game is going to get the advance in charge with +1 to hit, +1 to wound. You're going to give them either sustained or lethal hits from your Dark Pact. They all have a 5-up invuln and a 6-up field maintain. You're never going to kill them. And you just flood the boards with them. That list worked amazingly. It still totally works. These guys went up in points, and you had to reduce a little bit. But a lot of other things came down a little bit. And just by coming down a little bit, it really encourages different builds in CSM. I think CSM's looking freaking spicy right now. What about you?
Yeah, we see a lot of people building a lot of various stuff.
Yeah.
Data sheets are baseline good. Point costs are fine. I mean, people can still, like, Havocs are a consideration. And when was the last time that was a thing? Just like 5-man squads of Legionnaires. The basic Chaos Space Marine, the Legionnaire.
It's awesome.
You can bring 6 5-mans, and that's like a good base for any list. They can be Raiders, they can be Vanguard. You can probably have them in Cult as like a base thing to like just do shit for you. I mean, I don't see them being anywhere but A tier somewhere.
Yeah, I completely agree with A tier. You know, I want to see Shetel because I just want to see someone do this. So someone out there build this list for me, okay? I want to see Deceptors, and I want to see you run them as Emperor's Children. And I want you to put Lucius with a unit of Legionaries infiltrating behind some cultists and say, hey, move turn 1. I just want to see it. I think there is actual play there, even though I think that's also probably one of the worst attachments. I think there's real play there, and I would love to see it. All right, CSM, A tier. I think they rock. I think they're really good. And I think someone who's going to the World Championships in about a month, I think CSM is a real contender for taking that crown. They're flexible. They can deal damage into anything. They've got mission play. They've got everything they need. I think CSM is a contender. I think Guard is a big contender. I think obviously Sisters are a big contender. I think those are the 3 that we have on the board right now that are big contenders for actually taking the crown. All right. So, yeah, go ahead.
For the next one.
Yeah, the next one.
I have another heartfelt plea.
Do it.
I know the models are cool. I know they are thematic. But please, look me in the eye now, gentlemen. Please, can we leave the Death Shroud Terminators at home? That is all I ask. Please.
I think it's a big error.
You go now.
All right, I know everyone wants to bring the 18 Death Shroud army. And to be fair, if you're playing a teams list and you want that Death Shroud army to be doing a specific job, there is a specific job it can do very well. If you're not playing teams, I don't think you should bring 18 Death Shroud. I think Death Guard is an amazing freaking place. I think Death Guard is an insane place right now. I think this is going to be about the best we have ever seen Death Guard. Because right now, you have a 300-point battery that gives your entire army ignore modifiers. I'm not sure people really grasp, like, because one of our buddies, Josh, he's recently been playing Death Guard, and one of the things that he just didn't understand was how strong ignore modifiers are when he's never had access to ignore modifiers. ignore modifiers is bonkers strong on a single unit. The fact that you can give it to your entire army is what broke ninth edition. It was called the Finial of the Necrotermish, whatever, and it made me rage quit. It's the only games I've actually rage quit, and it was against this freaking guy that you guys see on the camera with us. But I quit playing. I was like, I don't want to play with you anymore. I'm going to take my toys and go home. And anyway, Mortarion has that aura, and it is always active. It's not even the aura he needs to select, which is bonkers good. I think with the, 3 plague crawlers, you put Mortarion down. I don't think you even need the 2 bricks of the Fight First Marines anymore. I think it's too expensive. You don't need it. I think just 1 is plenty good. I think it's not the Typhus. It's the Pumbaa list. It's the Pumbaa list that's running around right now. You put in those bloat drones. Those bloat drones are insane. Bro, can I tell you, I think Death Guard is an army to beat right now. I think they are solidly in A, and I think the only real weakness they have is they're a little bit slow, but they're really not that slow when you consider they're running those 3 bloat drones around. So I think they're freaking an army to beat. What about you?
I think that if you are not prepared for marine bodies that you won't be able to necessarily shoot without taking a anti-infantry 2-up flamer Overwatch with AP 1, 2, or 3,
3,
depending on what contagion they have.
That you can't AOC against, right?
Because it's the movement phase.
Yep.
And if you want to charge them, they might fight first and heroic another squad that both will fight first. So either one of them will be able to activate before you fight with AP 2, maybe 3, depending on contagion. You might... Okay, let's say that you are AdMech with Reststalkers.
Yep.
You charge a Plague Marine squad. They fight before you. You feel no pain. You lose 5 dudes. You are hitting on 5s potentially if they do the, like, if they have any other -1 modifiers. Let's say there's a Nurgling squad right nearby, right?
Yep.
So they reduce your weapon skill, which is what you get from Conqueror. They reduce your to hit. Now you're on 5s with your melee dudes.
Yep.
That was supposed to like pick out some characters. Now you don't do that. How do you deal with that, right? Those are questions you need to answer.
Yeah, it's a problem, and if you're playing against any marine bodies, suddenly you're just -1 to your armor save. It's not you're just -1 to your armor save. That is, I think Death Guard are an army to beat. I'm putting them in. I'm putting them in A. I'm putting them in A.
They are solidly in A. Where in A? Like, I think the whole A tier floats heavily.
Yeah, I honestly, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's everywhere, absolutely. Now, let's talk about another army that a lot of people are really down on right now. I don't quite understand why they're so down on it. I think they're totally fine. They were the highest win rate army in the game. They weren't putting up nearly as many GT wins because they didn't have like the highest potential. But I think they're still a good army.
Scary took that personally and just took a GT win.
Yeah, he's like, watch me.
With the bad detachment.
Which, by the way, the bad detachment, when you looked at its win rates, bro, it was still like 57%. Yeah, I know. ELO. But it's like, yeah, so I think Drukhari are probably fine. I don't know. It's hard to argue with just how many units they can still put out. There is counterplay to them. I don't think that you're going to see them winning the World Championship. I don't think you're going to see them picking up super majors. They are a pretty cerebral army that's really reliant on correct positioning. And there's no doubt about that. But I think if you are a Drukhari player and you want to play with your toys, bro, you're going to be able to play with your toys just fine.
I think they... Like, it is so hard to properly evaluate Drukhari.
Yeah.
Because they have that Eldar thing, where if the player is really good, and you have never played against it before, you will always lose your first match into Drukhari. That's just a thing. If you've never played them before, you will lose your first match into Drukhari, because you won't know how to deal with it. But there are so many ways to deal with it, that I'm just like I would like almost tend to agree with like Anthony Vanilla in that, but this is trash, and then you play against it, and then it's like, okay, maybe not entirely right.
Yeah.
It's like, God, it's so hard to place them like that.
I think they just go they go somewhere in B, bro. Like they're good. You can play them. They're not busted. They're not weak. I think they go exactly where GW wants armies to be.
Yeah, I think they are just like fairly balanced. You can do whatever you want. You can win with them. I think there are some things you will just struggle buffs with.
Totally.
Like guard.
Yep.
But everyone struggle buffs against guard right now.
And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't have actually a reasonably decent game plan into guard with all like their haywire and stuff that they can put out. I'm not saying it's a great game plan, but I think they might have actually a relatively reasonable one into guard. I still don't think they win it, but they probably do better than a lot of other armies.
But I mean, if you demech Sky Splinter, you just don't do stuff, right?
That's 100% true. 100% true. All right, so we got them in the B tier. Let's get moving here. Let's take a look at the next one. This is my vote for number 2, King. So I think Tyranids are bonkers right now. I think they were already very good. I think everything coming down around them just made them freaking nightmares. And the cool thing about Tyranids right now is that literally every single detachment, or well, maybe not literally every single detachment, but almost every detachment is very playable. Invader is very playable. Crusher Stampede, very playable. Invasion Fleet, very playable. Synaptic Nexus, still quite playable. All right, Assimilation just doesn't work, and neither does Endless Swarm. But that's 4 out of 6. I think that might be the best internally balanced codex, like, ever, if I'm not mistaken. And no matter what you build, you can put 3 Exocrines, which are criminally undercosted. You can put 2 Tyrannofexes, which are probably appropriately costed, but just good. And you have the foundations of a bonkers list.
But are they better than sisters?
Well, they're also going to have the cheapest, most freaking value town lone ops in the entire game just standing on objectives. And then they're going to have the 3-inch rapid ingressing freaking Trigon, which is going to be a big problem for them. They've got the tools to handle things, man. I'm not saying that they're going to crush sisters every match.
They certainly have tools.
I don't think there's an army they can't play into. I don't think there's a single one.
I think they have play into everything.
Yep.
But am I more afraid in all the armies I play, am I more afraid of facing a Tyranid player or a Sisters player?
Well,
if we look away from the potential players you and I typically play against, because that will bias us,
of course,
and the fact that because Victor versus for example Arnolfs is not a fair comparison.
We're not talking about our local meta, Schedule. We're talking about world meta here. So let me phrase it to you this way, okay?
But if you were facing Typhus on Sisters versus God, I can't remember his name, but there's a guy that's like amazing, German or something guy. I can't remember the name, but he is also like amazing. Like he's Sveinung plus tier. If you were facing either one of those, who would you be more scared of?
Neither. But let me phrase it this way, okay? You have 3 units, 3 Exorcist, 2 of them with. Then you have another battle round where 2 of them with.
But how do they with?
They hit on 4s if they indirect without rerolls.
They hit on 3s if they see. And
with
you can
indirect, my friend.
Yeah, but that's turn 1.
And if you could see them, then Tyrannofexes pop them. So you're not, or Lancers pop them or whatever. So it's like they're not gonna let you see them.
No. The Tyrannofex is 2 shots, right?
It's 2 shots. It's D6 plus 6 damage each.
All the sisters have a 6-up invul.
I'm aware of this.
You will guarantee save that the single one that goes through.
Yeah. And they're gonna have 2, right. And they're gonna have Excrins that are also AP3. So, but the bottom line is do Tyranids have to be what it takes to be better than Sisters as this meta? I think there's probably an argument either way.
I would rate sisters higher than Tyranids.
You can rate them higher. I'll rate Nids higher, and then we'll just put them right next to each other, and then it'll be good.
That is fair.
And we'll move on into GSC, which I'm really excited to see different builds for. Freaking Biosantic is actually pretty nasty looking, man. I think Biosantic is looking really cool. Outclaw Raiders is looking obviously really, really good. Dude, I think GSC are in a good spot. What about you?
Outlander Claw, Biosanctic, and Host of Ascension are all still really good. They have done tournament wins. They're seeing a lot more play. I think this is definitely one of the armies you need to be prepared for.
Totally.
And there are two different builds to be prepared for. It's the vehicle heavy one, and it's the very fast punch you in the face one. If you aren't prepared for that, you will lose to it. They are somewhere A tier. Maybe near the bottom, because there are some issues with sustainability if you don't roll those 4s and 5s to come back. But GSC is probably good.
Yeah, man, I completely agree with you on that. I think they have the problem with GSC is the problem with their freaking army rule, which their faction rule is just it's fundamentally a stupid faction rule to have. It's either going to auto win you a game or it can just say you don't get to play this game. And I hate that faction rule. I really would love it for GW to take a second look at that.
Outlander Claw is more safe in that sense. And lo and behold, GW is reworking it in the December data slate.
Hello, which I think is fantastic. And honestly, guys, I think GW is doing a great job of keeping this game pretty balanced right now. I think they're doing a really good job. Now, there's certain things that are unforeseen. Like, I don't think they really realized what they did when they released Aquilans at 90 points. But overall, this is about the most balanced. Maybe not the most balanced, but it's pretty close to the most balanced it's ever been. So I think they're doing a pretty good job this edition. So we like GSC and A. Let's look at the Grey Knights.
What do you think about them? Because I have an opinion that might be spicy.
All right. I like them at top of B, bottom of A. I think the Grey Knights infantry carpet is legit really, really good, but it just has some hard counters which will make it cry.
I would say probably more close to bottom of B, and that is the spicy take.
Give me the spice, man.
I think they are still too expensive. I think they don't have the tools to handle the vehicle heavy meta we're going into. And I think that people killing 2-up AOC things is something everyone is aware of. Like, if you look at all the armies that are potentially above it now, what armies of those will struggle killing 2-up AOC things? And what armies can Grey Knights actually take objectives from reliably so they don't score primary? Because you still have to do a 9-inch deep strike on most things. If you do the 3-inch, you can't charge. And you are still relatively expensive, right? Losing stuff for Grey Knights will probably hurt a lot more than others. P. Downey is very good still. So a skilled player can probably do a lot here, which is why they're not C tier, right? But I just think that Stormbolters and whatnot and the base side cannons just don't do enough into vehicles. And Nemesis Dread Knights is something that people will be tooled to handle anyways. And this might be a hot take. It might not play out this way come November, right?
Let me give you my pitch to see if I can change your mind here. All right. So, Grey Knights. Effectively, right now, if you want to run the infantry carpet, Dread Knights is a different thing. If we want to run infantry carpet, you can more or less play Grey Knights the way Custodes were played at the beginning of 10th. Which is, I'm going to max primary, I'm going to deny you primary, I'm going to score the secondaries I score just by holding primary and not care about scoring any of the other secondaries. They're going to take that Paladin brick, and they're going to 3-inch deep strike it onto the objective. And they're going to blast you with 6 incinerators. I think incinerators are way better than fly cannons, because strength 6, AP 1, which gives you a guaranteed, like, a lot of death onto most infantry things, and it wounds most vehicles on 5 still.
Do you take the Psycams on Paladins instead for the ignore mob though?
I don't think you do, but I think there's an argument for it, to be fair.
Right, fair enough.
To be fair, I do believe there is an argument there. Then what I think you do is you put them on the objective, and then you hammer Caldor Drago on the other side. Caldor Drago runs in, wipes the thing that he's charging, because Caldor Drago can freaking do that. Then what happens is your opponent is locked. He can't move at all, because the second he moves, Caldor Drago disappears, and then you can't shoot the paladins. So you better be prepared to wipe that squad in melee, because if you shoot them, they're going to disappear with Sigil of Exigence, which means they get to come down, nuke the big thing, disappear with 800 points of their army. They're going to rapid ingress somewhere to bring that into another place. Not to mention, they're going to have these stupid librarians leading Terminators that are just Vortex of Dooming. If they roll ones, they're going to have a Field of Pain against it. Every single time you kill a Terminator, you're only going to kill one, because if they're smart, they're going to put one Terminator on the objective. The second you kill him, you can't see him anymore, and then in his turn, he's just going to resurrect that Terminator back on the objective and score anyway. They are insane at primary. Their secondary, I think they can build lists that are insane at secondary, but if they do, then they become weak at primary. But Infantry Carpet in particular is amazing at primary scoring and primary denial. Especially when you 3-inch deep strike a 5-man Terminator squad, boom, that's 15 OC there.
Maybe. All right. I will concede this. I don't necessarily know enough about the matchup in the maps we currently have available.
Fair
I
point.
think I need to see it more in a WTC context.
Sure, totally, man.
To place it. I think in WTC they rate higher, but I think like in general they rate lower.
Well, I'm interested to see if in November, like what we see on Grey Knights, because I got to be honest with you, man. Had a few experiences with them. They're pretty spooky. So let's leave them. But I do understand your reservation. So let's leave them towards the top of B here.
They are solidly B anyways, right?
Oh yeah. There's no doubt. There's no doubt about it. The argument I think is are they mid top B or are they bottom A? So I'm comfortable leaving them towards the top of B for now. But I hope my pitch gave you something to think about. Let's do Imperial Knights now. Now, technically, I think we can get 5 big knights. We've done it, boys. I think we can get 5 big knights on the table now.
You can certainly get 5 big knights now.
Does that change anything, or are Imperial Knights players still sad?
I think Imperial Knights are underrated as a faction.
I actually agree.
But I think it is too hard for people to put in the reps to properly make them shine the way they can. Because we have seen some players put out really good potential with them.
Sure.
Like Mr. Perfect, he knows who he is.
The King of Sweden.
Yes. But does that mean are they better or worse than, say, Chaos Knights? I
think they definitely have less potential than Chaos Knights, for sure.
I would say that the potential to do things are less than Chaos Knights, but not significantly so. Rerolling that one hit and wound is significant. The strats they have are still fairly okay. Khanis in that knight detachment is so much better than allying him, and I wish Imperial armies would stop allying him by default, because you need to properly know that people can kill big knights.
That's true.
People can easily kill big knights, especially if you only have one. The value comes is if you have, let's say you have a paladin, you have Canis, and you have the Atropos, and then you have 5 armigers of some configuration, right? Let's say that's your army. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
If you bring in Imperial Agent allies, with, like, say you bring in a sister squad with an Immolator, suddenly you have something to reliably strip cover, so that your Helverins are like AP2, AP1, maybe, I think, are they AP2 base? I don't know. No,
they're AP1 base. AP1 base.
Yeah. And then they become 2 with Squire's Duty, and then ignore cover. And then you can sticky things with the sisters. You can have like other agents to do things for you. Maybe you have a Calidus. It becomes expensive to have those allies. But those allies with the knights, I would almost wager that if I had more knowledge, I would rate them higher than Chaos Knights, but right now they are like same-ish area as Chaos Knights.
I would put them in C. Maybe I would put them right next to Custodes. The reality is every gameplay that they have relies on their allies. And
I mean that's fair, I suppose. If you want to discount allies from the potential of the faction,
it's not the faction, right? And I'm not saying that like an
sure.
army doesn't work without allies, right? But I think it's kind of taking it for granted that every Imperial faction needs to be taken to Calidus, right? Like saying, oh, you have access to a Calidus, I don't really think that boosts you a tier. Do you know what I mean?
No, but I think that having access to reliable ignore cover does a lot
Sure.
for Imperial
Does
Knights that it
especially
doesn't
that one battle
necessarily do
data sheet.
elsewhere, right?
For sure. Especially for that one data sheet. I think that's reasonably well put.
I would if they are in C, I would put them above Custodes though.
Yeah, I could
If they
100%
are
do
in
that.
if they are in C, they should be top of C.
I could 100% go with that. Let's talk about another one that because of my experience with them, I want to put them higher than I think they probably deserve. But the Leagues of Votann. Now, I think the Leagues of Votann have a lot of really good options. I think they've got really good data sheets that can do a lot of great work. But I think I'm a little bit biased here, simply because Leagues of Votann have historically had a really good game plan into like Orks, which is what when I've done most of my matches into Votann, I've been running Orks, I've been running more infantry carpets, and Votann just does really well into that style army. I think Votann definitely has some things that they're suffering from. I wouldn't go so far as to put them into like the C tier, but I don't think they're in a great place, even though they're not necessarily in a bad place either. They do have data sheets, like their Jaegers are still stupidly good. I think Hectons are great. I think it's nice for them that the Hearthguard went down because their Hearthguard were pretty dang pricey. They're probably still a little pricey to be honest with you. 2 Wound Terminators. But yeah, I struggle to say that they are really good, even though just my experience, I've gotten crushed by them. I think that's more just my experience and not necessarily what they do, if that makes sense.
That's fair. I would probably have them near the bottom of B.
Yeah.
If I were to be honest. I think they have potential, but I think it needs a faction specialist to bring it all out of them. And I think they're like if you don't have tokens on things, you don't kill things.
Yep.
And if the opponent knows about that, then they will just not engage with those tokened units until you have lost far too much stuff.
I mean, they've got good tools. Oh, sorry, guys, I kicked the microphone. They've got good tools. They've got good scouting units. They've got good damage output, but there's just something that they're really missing, and I think it's there's just something that they're still missing. I think they're dangerously close to topping out C tier for us, and we might have to reevaluate later. But I'm with you, bottom B, and we're actually getting fairly close towards the end here. But we got to talk about your faction, the plan, as you will, the man who made the plan. Let's talk about the Necrons.
I mean, it should be said it has been a hot minute since I have played Necrons due to my obligations to Team Norway.
Yeah, but it's looking pretty good.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Necrons will probably be the top of B tier. I think they are the top of B tier simply because some things are now too expensive to build the SKU lists that you need. I think there are now too few units to do things with. I think that there are good builds, however, where you can do things. I think there are builds where you can certainly win GTs.
Sure.
I think there's good potential in teams with various SKUs. I just don't think that they now consistently beat a good Death Guard on equal skill level. I don't think they beat an AdMech on equal skill level. I think they significantly struggle into Tyranids, Sisters, and Guard. I am not sure if I would have enough activations in most of the lists that I've considered to put a dent in GSC.
Basically, what I'm hearing from
I
you
am,
is that they are like
but
the gatekeeper.
yeah, but I am confident in
Hmm.
that they can blast away Grey Knight Terminators. I am confident that they can blast away demons.
Yep.
And this is like if you bring 3 Doomsday Arcs and the Silent King, nothing else almost matters. You can do them in Hypercrypt, you can do them in Obeisance Phalanx, you can do them in Awakened Dynasty. I would also argue that if you swap them out for Doomsday Arcs, you could probably do them in Court, but I would not run Court anymore. I think you
Yep.
do Awakened and you do Hypercrypt in those styles. And if you have player skill, you can do really good.
Yep.
I think Hypercrypt probably still has the most potential simply because up and down is really good.
Up and down, good.
But they will gatekeep the mid boards.
Yeah, I think the real question for a lot of these armies, like, can you get into A tiers? Can you kill a Satan, right? And so,
Pretty much, and a lot of armies can kill the Catans now.
right, but one of the things I think that we're seeing is that the armies that break into A tier are the ones that can kill the Satan relatively without thinking too much. Now, I would say Grey Knights maybe have actually Grey Knights might have a little bit better play into Satan, maybe, but Demons are going to struggle with Satan. So it's like I think Satan are just a problem. I think, and I also think that right now what we're seeing with a lot of the big Necron list is you're looking at 1 Satan or like 3 Satan. I don't think there's more or less any reason to run 2.
I think you go from 0 to full tilt.
Do you?
I think you can see the entire range, because the key about the Necrons isn't the Catans. It's about having the 3 Doomsday Arcs, putting out shots every single turn,
Yeah.
and potentially ignoring modifiers, rerolling once to hit and wound.
Yeah. If you're running that, you can't do Satan, right?
No, you can.
Oh, can you? You can do the King and 3?
Oh yes.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, King and 2 is the baseline,
Yeah.
and then you flex from there, right?
Yep.
If you run the Silent King and 2 Doomsday Arcs as your baseline in any list, and you focus on shooting with them every single turn, then you're fine. That's the game plan, right? You build stuff to handle the top of the meta. I think you build to handle whatever is above you in the tier lists, and everything below it will just be fine. They can't properly handle you.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and I think if you have the King, you pretty much are guaranteed to win the mirror, right?
If they don't have the King, then that's kind of a struggle bus, yes.
Yeah.
Because in things like, for example, Obeisance Phalanx, now that he benefits from the +1 to wound, he puts out significant damage.
Yeah.
In both melee and shooting.
All right, man. Let's throw them out the top of the B. We got the Dark Angels. Man, Dark Angels. I still think the Gladius list is good. But man, it lost a big step. Like
I would personally say that they are probably just above AdMech still.
Would you? You think they're still that high?
Yes, I think there are builds you can do that ensures that the Dark Angels have significant play still, because the Inner Circle companions with a Judiciary doing heroic interventions, the Deathwing Knights are still significant, and you could even run them in the is it the Unforgiven Task Force? That's the index one, right? Stuff like that.
That's not gonna do it.
Not that one. The Deathwing one. What's that called?
Inner Circle, but even Inner Circle, I think is a lot better than people think it is, but it's still not better than the Gladius build.
No, not at all. But no. I mean that's still like a viable thing that you can actually do and still be fine just on the Dark Angel data sheets alone.
You would
I think you twist them around a bit. You probably do like the same kind of highway style builds, just with more knights and Inner Circle companions and less vehicles, and just go to town still. I just can't see them being anywhere but like maybe better than AdMech, because AdMech kind of struggles into their kind of build. I think they could easily handle Death Guard, for example. Like they are one of the ones that can do it simply because they have the CP to throw the grenades, to do the heroic intervention fight first, right? Dark Angels will say, "Come to me to change the game state," and that is powerful.
But they instantly
Death
lose because they get lit up by AP2 flamers that are damaged to that ignore modifiers.
that are damage 1 because -1 damage.
Ignore modifiers.
Well, not necessarily if they're that far up. Then Mortarion is danger close to just dying. I mean, I think they are in-ish the same ballpark,
Interesting.
power-wise.
This is
I
actually
don't
pretty
think
surprising to me because I was going to drop them right below the Necrons.
No, I think that Dark Angels, there are still build varieties there that are significantly good still.
You know what?
I think they float around like Death Guard-ish, Death Guard AdMech.
I've overridden you a couple times this list. I'm going to give you this one. I'm going to give it to you. And let's go ahead and put them right over Death Guard. We'll throw it right over there.
Yep.
I still chuckle says the Christmas box is going to flood so many new Dark Angel players to the world. Dude, 100%. Honestly, I don't play Dark Angels. I'm probably picking up that Christmas box because
Well, yeah,
like,
that's a thing too.
like, that Christmas box is insane, dude.
Like if you think about the Lion,
yeah, I think he has real play now.
Yeah, like if you play Dark Angels, consider putting the Lion on the table and look at what some of his other auras do, because they can do things.
And him as a heroic threat, man, you can make your Eradicators unchargeable. So I think there's things you can do with them for sure. All right, we are going into the boys now, guys. I love the boys. The Orks. The Orks are my boys. They are my big love for 40k. I'm actually pretty excited because they're playable again. Now, the real issue with the Orks isn't, and it never was points. Like, these points cuts were really nice. It made Orks definitely playable again. And I actually would argue that Orks are actually quite good. But it doesn't really fix the Orks because the problems that Orks were still running into are still going to crush the Orks. They're just better at going into the things that they were already almost okay going into. But the things that were still crushing them, it's still crushing them. Orks need a few rules changes. They just do. Now, fixing a couple of keywords on like do war bosses get their attacks when they come out of the transports. That was really, really nice. Getting the points dropped on the beast snaggers was kind of crazy. Like, I know my list, I literally just got 90 points for my list. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll take a unit of Defcoptus because, yeah, I'll have a unit of Defcoptus. That's great. And there's actual real problems with people when they kill Orks. Like, can you actually kill that many units? Because you can have 6 trucks full of boys and snaggas with bosses and knobs, and you can spend 2 turns killing 8 or 9 units, and then you're like, oh crap, you still have 2 units of snaggas with beast bosses. What am I gonna do? Orks are probably gonna be a real problem. I would put them close to the top of B. There's a lot of armies that are really gonna struggle against them right now. I don't think they're good enough to really crack that A tier, but I know they're gonna cause issues for your demons, your Grey Knights, your Black Templars, your Blood Angels. Although I do think Blood Angels probably have a little bit of edge in the matchup still. Their scoring potential is off the freaking charts right now. Have you had the pleasure of getting to run into them yet?
I have not played into Orks recently.
I'll run them for you. It's an experience.
I would argue. I know some people have put them in top of C, bottom of B, but I would say
I think they're better than that.
I would personally say they are mid to upper B.
Yep.
Probably below Black Templars.
That's basically exactly where I was eyeing them. I think they also I actually have the unique ability, by the way, just to throw this out there. I think Orks in particular are real good into the top of the meta. I think they're better into the top of the meta than they are into like their compatriots where they're sitting. Orks have the potential to take guard out. Orks have the potential to run through sisters. Orks have the potential to run through nids. And I see your brows being furrowed.
I think we need to play that matchup.
just consider this, right? Think about our game at maybe it was last invasion where I was running my Orks into you. What happens when I go first? I advance the transports up. You get the opportunity to kill the transports. If you don't kill them, I won the game.
I would argue that was me fucking up more than you doing it correct, though.
Okay,
In theory.
those are fighting words, and we'll settle that some other time. We'll settle that some other time, perhaps on a live stream.
we'll hit up a Waffle House once we hit Atlanta and check it out.
We'll hit up a Waffle House. Oh, jeez. But yeah, so I think, and with Tyranids, for example, man, you can just blast through their big monsters. All you need is to survive one phase, and that's really the crux of Orks. Can they survive the one phase? If Orks get their Wa at the start of command phase, I think they're extremely good right now. I will say there's still a few rules changes they probably need. There's a few keywords that need to be cleaned up, but I'm pretty happy with Orks. I think we'll drop them right next to the Black Templars. I think that's a great place for them.
I mean, personally, I think I'm. Oh no, I have played against Richard with them. Like my experience is just that. Okay, you're poised for the war turn. I'm gonna go protector. You're gonna be -1 to hit. Now you're not gonna kill enough, and then I mop up.
We'll run it.
Yeah.
All right. Space Marines, Vanilla Marines, which is weirdly Vanilla Marines is like actually might be better than some of the Divergent Codex Marines because Ultramarines were freaking spicy.
I have a request for the Marine players out there.
Yeah.
That like to run vanilla. Please check Gilliman for me, because I think that he is underrated right now.
I agree. The problem is Marnius is just so damn good. Like, and if you take Marnius and Gilliman, that's a lot of points. Like, I just couldn't justify running Ultramarines and not bring Marnius Calgar. He's one of the best characters in the game. And then now that Uriel gives you the freaking Vect aura, you can get double Vex. It's just Gulliman, I agree, but I just don't know why I take him over them.
What we're seeing here, though, is that there is a lot of variety in just being vanilla Codex Space Marines.
And dude, Tigurius is good. Like,
there is a lot of options. There is a lot of potential power here. I would personally argue they are probably. I would argue they are better than demons just because they can run like gladiators good in all varieties, right?
Yeah, gladiators just freaking good, man.
I would say like they're behind Necrons, probably above demons.
Vanguard is also, don't forget, Vanguard got sneak buffed as well, right? People aren't talking about how Vanguard got that sneaky buff because they got the same Death Guard treatment with the objectives. So now once they sabotage the objective, it's sabotaged. They don't like
as long as you control it, man.
Yeah, so like if you take it off me and you take the mortal wounds and then I take it back, I don't have to spend CP to re-sticky that or to rearm my trap.
Oh, you have to re-sticky it, but you don't have to rearm the trap.
Is that what it is? All right.
Yes.
Okay.
You lose the sticky, but you don't lose the sabotage state.
Things like that are cool, man. I gotta be real with you because like late game, I can't tell you how many games where I have a 2-wound tank and that's what needs to hold the objective for me, and then boom, well, damn.
It becomes obnoxious real quick.
Yeah. Honestly, I think Vanguard's looking really sneaky. I know I'm just one of the things with my Blood Angels I was trying to build is to build a sneaky Vanguard list, and I think I'm almost there. But Ultramarines in Vanguard, you put Marnius with the Eradicators, and they infiltrate and they advance and shoot and fall back, and it's just
I have lost against the Vanguard list in the last couple of days, and that says something.
Vanguards are good. Then we have Space Wolves. Space Wolves, honestly, I think Space Wolves are fine, but I think they're probably just they're good. It's not that they're bad, right? They just need their codex. I would throw them in the C tier just because B is too full. Thunderwolves got really nerfed, which means in Storm Raven detachment, or Storm Lance detachment, that's.
I disagree, and I think they're A tier.
Whoa! All right. Break it down for me. Pitch it.
They are the same Marines as everyone, and we have to consider the Thunderwolves, right?
Yep.
They did not get significantly hit. You haven't lost too much at all. The Wolf Jail list still works. It is a problem to deal with, and when people are now gearing up to kill vehicles, when people are now gearing up to kill Guard, I would argue that Guard struggles with the Wolf Jail, and that can't be C tier.
Guard struggles with Wolf Jail.
Yes.
Why would you make that argument?
Because they would be -1 to hit with the strat.
1 unit.
I think it's also -1 to wound, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that unit needs to die, otherwise everything gets tagged and guard. The tank commanders can't shoot in combat with the Demolisher cannon.
Yeah, but you have Bullgrin, and they just bounce on the Bullgrin.
No, but you don't necessarily have as many Bullgrins before, and they kill Bullgrin because there's enough attacks, and the Bullgrins don't kill them in return. And then you're locked out of the objectives because the base sizes are so big you can't physically fit the Aquilons on the objectives.
Well, that's probably that's a really good point. Now, when you say the Bullgrin don't kill the Thunderwolves back, you're still, what is it, 4 attacks, strength 7, AP 1, damage 2? Like, why don't you kill them back?
It is
takes them to their invuln. That's the best you can get. Like, that's almost the ideal
profile.
No,
you don't because you AOC and then it's 3 ups, and they are 4 wounds each, and you have to kill a lot of them. You have taken damage going into it. Because of the volume.
This is assuming they go first, right? Because if they go second, then you just kill one of the squads.
The Bullgrin won't be charging the Wolf Jail. The Wolf Jail is too fast for that.
Yeah. So, and if they go first, like, you can't hide those Thunderwolves.
Depends on the layout, but I mean, if you it's 24-inch range on the tank commanders. Right? Yeah. They won't be on objectives. It'll be AP 1 from the battle tank. So it'll be on 3s if you AOC whatever the battle tanks shoot.
And you'll just shoot mortars first, and then fields of fire. So it's not a problem.
Yeah, but another thing to consider is people aren't bringing Ursula anymore either. So the fields of fire is 2 CP, and then you don't have the CP to reinforce if something dies that turn. Right? There are so many trades you have to make that are potentially bad. I'm not saying that it's necessarily.
I'll toss them somewhere in B. I vehemently disagree, but I'm comfortable with that. You're smart enough that I'm not going to just toss them in
C. I just think that we haven't been exposed enough to it because nobody owns the Thunderwolves required to run it.
What's
And I will fix that, and I will run it, and you will see what I mean.
Once again, I don't know where you're getting this from. You said this a bunch of times, but like literally 90% of both of our games are completely international. Like I don't understand why you keep saying this.
No, I mean like in general.
Like, okay, all right.
But like people don't run Space Wolves because the other things are easier to consider. Right? I think the Space Wolves are too unique in the Thunderwolf build that people just don't consider it.
Yeah.
They don't think about it.
Okay. All right, guys, we got Tau. Everybody hates Tau. Tau are good. Cao Yan is the killiest thing in the game when Cao Yan gets active.
Red Cadre is underappreciated.
100%. I think Tau is a freaking good dang codex. I think Tau is one of those armies that has the ability to just pick up the A tier, but I don't think they're A tier.
I think they're better than Necrons.
You think they're better than Necrons right now?
I think they're better than Necrons. Because I think they are fast enough to get the jump on the Necron player, even with Hypercrypt, because they still have enough trash to green out the Hypercrypt, except for like the 1 3-inching unit. And that's not enough to take them out.
When you put it in such simple terms, I think I agree. We'll just toss them in the bottom of A. These guys are fast. They've got, if they're Montka, they're crazy fast, and they've got lethals on everything, which means they don't care about high toughness. If they're Cao Yan, it doesn't matter how high toughness. There's just so many shots coming at you. If they're Retcon, they've got crazy jank. Although I would say like your Cao Yan is probably better, in my opinion. But like, Retcon's got real play. Too bad Screw Detachment doesn't work, man. That sucks.
I wonder if it does. It just doesn't shoot at all, and you need to kill.
I mean, because on release, I think Crew Detachment actually worked really well, right? And I do wonder this, right? Did people just overreact to the fact that you can only resurrect a squad once? Because inevitably what you saw is a bunch of freaking crew that was a huge horde problem that was locking people away. And then just magically, you also had 1,000 points of Tau shooting behind them. And that's a problem.
I think the detachment is fine. I just think the others are just so much better.
That might be it, right? I haven't explored it enough to really go into it, but I played against your Montcalms, I played against your Retcon, I played against your Callion. It's a dang good army, man. And I always hate playing against it.
And I think it's just that's the aesthetic of Tau. It is the Tau units, not the auxiliary units.
Yeah,
right?
I can see that.
So people just don't have the quantity
Yep.
of auxiliary units that they would need to make those armies work, right?
Yep.
So underexplored, but still probably not better than the better detachments.
We got 2 more armies to talk about. The first one is we got to talk about potential, but we also got to talk about reality. Because even if you have potential to play a perfect game, I've never played someone who's played a perfect game. T-Suns, if played perfectly, are still right up at the top, but they have 0 room for error now. Like 0 room for error and 0 room for fluffing anything. I don't think that they can really quite qualify as like a consistently A tier army anymore.
No, I think they are the bottom of 8 army. Probably.
That's fair.
Because Magnus and the Arcane Vortex and the single Mutilith Vortex Beast
it's amazing.
Can kill the entire game, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a codex that can't be bounced by points.
there are trade-offs for Cabal points, there are trade-offs for builds. But like I would be loath to put an army like that has the movement shenanigans it does, the anti-movement shenanigans it does, the potential to indirect and reroll wounds with Magnus. The fact that Magnus exists and can reliably kill
anything
1 to 2 big knights a turn, it's too much. It's good. It's not the best. It's not top of A. It's not S tier. I think they have been balanced enough that I think they are fine where they are. And I think they have just the right amount of mortal wound tools and heavy shooting that you can play against it. And you can be outskilled as heck with it.
All right, so here's the caveat. I'm gonna put them at the bottom of it because I think you made your point. But here's the caveat with this. This is such a knife edge army right now because one Mutilith Vortex Beast gets killed too early, he has to hold his objectives with the rubrics and he loses the game. It is that knife edge an army.
If you're not good with Thousand Suns, I mean, you need the reps here. You can't just switch to this and do it. The consistent Thousand Suns player will be just about where we put them here. If you don't have that yet, don't be discouraged, right? You just need more reps, and you need to know your opponent's armies and what they can do.
It's hard to play army now. Hard.
A lot of the other A tier armies are like fine if they know their own army.
Yeah.
But Thousand Suns is the A tier army that really needs to know what the opponent's army does to make sure that you're safe. Because if you are not safe as a Thousand Sun, it's just like in Space Marine 2, the video game. They are the easiest operations to finish.
Isawa Chuckles wants to let everyone know that they're down to about 700 suns at this point. Yeah, so that's that. All right, guys, we get the last one. This is the World Eaters. I love the World Eaters. I think they're a super fun army. I think they're fine. You know, I heard some people complaining about their points nerfs, but it's like realistically, just went back to the previous the data balance where they were totally fine.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much either or. I think there are actually multiple builds now. You have the standard World Eaters 8-bound type stuff. You have the Jackal Carpet, and you have the 30 Terminators.
Actually, Double Forge Fiend is in there, and Double Forge Fiend works, man.
No, like I mean, like there are multiple builds. You have variety now, right?
Yeah. 30 Termies is good, man. I like what Dean did with that.
I think it's like middle of B somewhere.
I think that's part of that shit.
I think it's better than Blood Angels. I think it's worse than Templars.
Put them right next to Orks.
Fair enough.
I think that's it, man. You guys, this is screenshot time. Now, remember, with the caveat here, this is a potential list. So, will your average T-Suns player be an A tier? No, they will not. We are talking about the potential of what the army can deliver when used by a good practiced hand, right? Best army in the game is unanimous. It is Guard. I think, yeah.
If there are any adjustments to make, I would personally see Sisters in S tier along with Guard.
I mean, I could not in good faith put Sisters up in S tier if I'm not putting Tyranids up in S tier. So what do you want to do with that?
I just want it to be noted that that is my objection.
All right. I accept your objection and I overrule. But I love you. But I will keep Sisters in front of Tyranids because I respect you. Then we're going to throw AdMech down there. Now, a lot of people aren't really super understanding the AdMech one. Guys, you got to get a practice good AdMech player, and then you're going to understand what it is, what that thing does. Dark Angels still super strong with Gladius, followed by the rest of it kind of just falls into place. We've got your CSM, your Death Guard, your GSC. They're all at the same area, just with the Tal. T-Suns bringing up the rear. Then in our B tier, remember, these are potential. This isn't what the average player is necessarily going to do. Your average Necron player, for example, is probably going to be like better than the crowd around them, because Necrons was one of those armies that could just pilot that way. But when you're playing at a high level of competition, you're looking at potential. We have Necrons, Vanilla Marines, or Ultramarines as we should call them. We've got the Demons, which I think are great. Grey Knights, Orks, World Eaters, Templars, Blood Angels. Dude, this is such a good field, man. This is just, the game feels good right now. I mean, yeah, there's an annoyance with the Guard, but the game feels good.
Yeah, any of these B tier armies are like one guy unlocking a certain list away from like up to A tier, up to B tier. Like someone could just like unlock something, build a thing, and then it's like, how do you deal with that? And then people will go like, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, man. And like, listen, I took Custodes about a week ago and I beat Crusher with them. Doesn't mean that Custodes should beat Crusher, but the fact of the matter is that, like, even that can happen, which is indicative of a good meta, man. It just really is. I just got really lucky and I blasted both of his Excrins, right? And it's like, well, that happened. And because of that, I think I'm really dang happy where the game is right now. What do you want to see change? Anything? Obviously, like, balance, like, bring down the Aquilans and stuff, but
like I think that there needs to be some consideration from Games Workshop on how to handle balance on armies that don't have a lot of data sheets.
Yeah.
Because they are very binary in how things happen. And they've done good jobs on it before, right? But if Custodes gets too much, they jump a lot all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Because, access to allies and whatnot. And if Imperial Knights get some changes, like they used to be like the big terror alongside Eldar at the start of 10th. Now they are near the bottom, but not much actually changed, and they did get some buffs, right?
Well, I mean, huge things changed. Terrain changed. That was pretty big.
Yeah, but like the codex itself didn't get too many changes. There's been things around the game and the missions that have changed that some of these armies don't necessarily agree with. So it's like, do we have to wait until next summer for things to completely change again? Like, what if you can do actions with OC0 things again? How does that change things? That probably makes demons a lot better.
Yep.
That probably makes Necrons bring a lot more scarabs for like their easy action stuff, and then they can easily score while also just murderizing you, right?
Yep.
Those tiny changes matter a lot on how these things look.
Yeah, I think they did a good, and I agree with you, but I think that was one thing they did awesome in this was when they changed the secret missions ruling. Like that right there was a great example of how that just dramatically balanced the game.
That is also one of the reasons Thousand Suns fell hard, probably.
With the secret mission one?
Yeah.
Just because they couldn't teleport later on, or yeah.
Yeah, just so Magnus couldn't move 40 inches
It's a
turn
big deal.
5 and you score 50 points turn
But
5.
I think that's what you're talking about right there. Like that's just a brilliant example of what GW is doing to do better at it. But they need more of that. I would say the one thing I want to see them do more is I want data sheet balances. Because there are just so many examples in this game of some things that just don't work because it's a data sheet problem. It's not a points problem, right? Or
I
the vice
I
versa, right?
I I think they do that
They
to a
do it, but
certain
I'd like to
degree.
see more of it. And I know it's
But
hard. I know that's not easy.
I think they need to swap it around so that it's data sheet and points every 3 months and just points like every 6.
I think they should stop pretending that it's
Um,
only ever going to be just points or just battle rules because I don't think it's ever going to be
yeah.
just that. It hasn't been once
The
yet.
the problem with that is some of the rumors we've heard from Games Workshop in how it works internally, in that the rules
Yep.
writers are not the same as the balance team,
I hate it.
and are not the same as the app team, and
Yeah.
are not the same as the book team. So things need to be done in very specific orders. The teams aren't big enough. Um, I think Josh Roberts is doing God's work in there. However he does it, whatever he does, however it works. But if you compare it to how the Age of Sigmar team works, I think that the Age of Sigmar team has a much more healthy team when it
Yeah.
comes to the internal balance in the armies.
Agreed.
And the way they work, based on what I have heard, is that they basically have the same kind of stat sheet that we have internally in Team Norway,
Oh, cool.
that Sveinung built.
Nice.
And that is how they balance things. They look at that, and that does not exist for 40k. There is not a comprehensive database on how everything does into everything.
Yeah.
And it's a lot on the feel of things, or Mr. Roberts has to build his own
It's
tools.
just the
And
smallest
it
holdout in 40k still, where they still like they want to be involved in competitive and they want to support competitive, but they don't want it to be a competitive game. There's just a little bit of that still there, and you can see it in some of the rules. Like Mike Rant wrote those stupid ass not a clock rules, which thank goodness they're kind of overwriting. But like, there's just a little bit of that left. Just embrace the fact that it's a competitive game. Just do it. Just do it.
I am always of the opinion that if something is competitive and balanced, people will find their fun with it.
Yep.
And then you can have crusade rules as an addition to that to make it unbalanced and ridiculous, and that is also fun.
Totally.
But as a baseline, it could be balanced more internally, perhaps, right? Because
Yep.
that's also a problem. Admech has one detachment that is probably like the go-to. You can argue for Rad Zone, but it is Hunter Court,
Yeah.
right? If you're Blood Angels, it's Liberator. If it's Sisters, it's Bringers.
And there's just no doubt about it. Yep.
Those are also misses that I think can be probably adjusted, but they're not necessary adjustments, right? And there's limited time, so who do they look at, right?
Yep.
They look at the things that are the most broken. Is it worth looking at GSC Cult Ambush now that they're actually like very, very good and people are bringing them and the revolution is on and it is the
The
day
Day
of
of Ascension.
ascension? Maybe not. Maybe that's like, okay, so we started this and it is a necessary rework. They don't need it right now, but it was necessary to do. And back in the time, they weren't that good. They may get worse again. Stuff like that, right?
I agree.
And another of the problems that we might feel like that as people, right? Playing this game and whatnot is there a stagnation in this feel like where we just feel like there's not enough being done quick enough? And is that also because of the late production lines
Dude, it's
for the
fast.
codices? No, the codices aren't
Oh
coming
no,
out
no.
fast enough,
But
right?
the balance is very fast. You know, I was talking to Gorm earlier. It's like, dude, some of the armies that were dominating the meta in February was in February. It's like, oh crap, that felt like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, oh. But you know what?
Yeah, like last WTC, like that feels like a different game ago.
Absolutely. And you know, we are at an hour and 50 minutes. If you guys want to hear more of Shettel's musings, which I could listen to forever, then hop into the Discord and pop in and like and subscribe to Happy Crumpet Wargaming. If you guys are looking for coaching, you can find the link in the description down below. You can book coaching calls at coffee on my coffee and join the Discord, guys, because that is a pop in place. We are getting ready to start launching another teams league. I think we're gonna aim for doing it right after this round of tryhard stops. And guys, Discord's the place to be. So we hope to see you there. And until next time, Shettel, thank you so much for shining on.